Hello, everyone. Hi. Seeing your beautiful faces. Welcome, welcome. So I'm going to invite you to put where you're calling in the chat, or where you're calling from in the chat. So I'm seeing you come here. Hi, Kathy. Good to see you. Hi, Joanne. Rhonda. I think I see Elizabeth there. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Marie. Hello, Doreen. Good to see you. Andrea. Hello, hello. Good to see you. So I invite you to put where you're calling from in the chat. Beautiful. Good to see you all. So welcome. Welcome to Waking the Dreamer. And this is class number 4. And today we're going to be talking about all things ritual. So I'm very excited. This is a topic that's very close to my heart. And again, is at the core of shamanic work. So I've just come off of a weekend of deep, rich ritual here and ceremony in Gros Morne, where we activated and anchored in the energy of the Lion's Gate, which is an ancient, important time when there are very high frequencies of light coming into the planet, because we're lined up with the galactic center and with some key stars in our among our star lineage ancestors, including the Sirians and the Orions. So this is a time of high ritual and ceremony and celebration among our ancient ancestors, particularly the ancient Egyptians, as well as the Mayans, and many indigenous cultures around the earth know about their ancient origins and connections with the star nations. So I'm really warmed up for talking about ritual today. So I welcome you all here. So I invite you, as usual, to come in and to find your breath and to really come present into your body, to find and connect with the support of Mother Earth. So wherever you're sitting or listening from, you know, to find that connection, to send those energetic roots down, connecting your heart. And this particular time, you know, the energy that comes in, the vibrations, the new codes are high, very high frequency love. In fact, a whole new octave of love is what we've been anchoring in here in Gros Morne, Newfoundland, and people all over the world, I'm sure. And so if you haven't already, we're still in the Lion's Gate. I mean, the peak of it was on Saturday, which is 8/8. But the Lion's Gate is open, you know, for another few days yet until the 16th. So I'm hoping that after today, you'll feel inspired to go do your own ritual to anchor that high vibration light in to your own life and into your own community, into your own sacred place, wherever it is that you live and are caring for, that is your sacred place. So I'd like to get started. I'd like to get started with, first of all, I'm so anxious to start talking about ritual, but I need to go back and just invite you again to come into this sacred circle and to feel yourself as part of the circle of us. Right now, I think we're at, 20, maybe 20 people here live, and then those who will be joining us later, another 100 or so, who will listen to the call. So we're a nice big circle here. So to feel that circle, energetically, we are all connected across space and time, no matter. Those that will listen later will still be connected and are connected right now, even if they can't be here in person. So imagine, use your imagination. We talked about last week how important that is. Use your imaginal mind to put us in a place that you find beautiful. And it could be a beautiful meadow, on a mountainside, or on a beach, or in a lodge. We could be inside a lodge. But in the center of the circle, there's a beautiful scarf with some flowers and some shells maybe, and some natural objects that we've all brought. And so in that circle, you are in that center, you place something energetically, something that's sacred to you, to hold this space and to mark it as sacred. And that in itself is a ritual, right? The gathering together, the creating of a center. And so bringing us here. And so as usual, we have Catherine Mitchell here. If you have any issues, you can put your hand up and she'll come and get you, see, or you can put a note in the chat. So do we have, Catherine, people putting in their places where they're calling from in the chat? Can you see that?
We sure do. We've got lots of Newfoundlanders. Mm-hmm. And we've got some folks from Ontario, Minnesota, Edmonton. Let's see. That's what I can see so far. Yep, Northern Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see we've got Janet from BC, Chilliwack, and we've got Kathy Green from Whidbey Island. Wow, beautiful gathering. Okay, so we're encompassing at least North America. We've got North America covered. That's good. All right. Okay, so as usual, if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat and we'll have time at the end, hopefully. And as usual, I'm going to give a teaching, talk about ritual, and then have an experience, a guided journey, and some time for questions at the end. So I'm feeling very ambitious today because I'm all excited about sharing with all I can today in this small space about in this short time about ritual. So I'm going to talk about the essence of ritual, as well as the main elements that are involved in ritual that we bring, and the importance and the effects, why it is we do ritual in the first place. And also to touch on, the difference between what I would say Indigenous ritual and modern ritual. Spend a bit of time there just distinguishing that, because it's to, set the context for what our work is as Westerners, who've been disconnected from our Indigenous roots, sometimes for a very long time. So we're remembering. So, so the essence of ritual, what is a ritual? And of course, we have modern understandings of ritual, but at its essence, the word ritual, I looked it up, the word ritual began to be used around the beginning of the rise of organized religion. And when spirituality got institutionalized into organized religion, then the word rite or ritual began to be used as a word to signify the activities that they would do, in the context of of a spiritual practice or service. And at its root, ritual, from a spiritual perspective, as opposed to a modern one, which I will talk about throughout, acknowledges that there's a threshold, that there is a difference between the ordinary and the non-ordinary, that the physical and the spiritual, the visible and the invisible are different worlds or different realities. And so the rite or ritual, and I'm going to use those words interchangeably because we tend to use them in modern times, we Westerners, interchangeably, though to the indigenous, they are different. But I'm going to speak to some of those differences as well. So acknowledging that there's a threshold, right? There's a duality. There's different worlds, and particularly distinguishing the physical world from the invisible and spiritual worlds, and from ordinary life and states of consciousness and non-ordinary. And so the ritual, the purpose of it was to bridge and to make that connection between those two different worlds or realms or realities. A ritual also, because it is designed to connect us with that spiritual, invisible realm, or that mysterious, and we might call it, also the divine, or the mythic, that greater reality, however you understand that there was, something special. And so you needed to have special things in place, or to do things differently to, make that connection, to make that bridge. And so, for example, in the Mayan culture, they have day keepers. And the day keepers are those who keep the days of the gods. So they would be the special days when that would call for some acknowledgement and some means to connect with that greater, the gods, the world of the gods and goddesses. And rites and rituals, of course, are, a part of every spiritual tradition, including the shamanic tradition, so I went through rites of initiation, and next week you're going to be receiving one of those rites of initiation. And also, in the secular world, we have ceremony and ritual all the time to acknowledge those thresholds. So, for example, the birth of a baby and the naming of a baby, or the ritual of graduation, from school, rituals for marriage and for death, right? So all of these, we still have connection with ritual, and we use ritual, but we do it a little differently than our indigenous ancestors would, and I'll speak to that later. So the elements of ritual, well, again, this is about acknowledging all the forces of creation, all the different, elements of nature. We talk about air, water, earth, fire, and ourselves as ether. So all these elements you would bring to the ritual, you would incorporate in some way. And I'm sure this won't, this will be very familiar to you. We bring sound, music, singing, invocation, prayer, right? Some way to, bringing that vibration that requires air, and ether, for us to connect with and declare our intention to connect with those spiritual realms. We often, do blessings, right? For example, like even things like grace before meals, right? That's a ritual there, with the intention of offering gratitude. So anthems, like our national anthems, right? And everybody stands with their hands on their heart, right? To connect. So all of these things are ritual, it's very much a part of our culture, and every culture. Movement and dance are two other things that are often involved in ritual. you know, we want to bring our whole selves, right? We want to bring our elemental nature and those things. For example, you know, ritual and dance can be quite complex. There can be there are whole traditions of when I learned about sacred dance, and particularly from the Eastern European people. You know, when a lot of the feminine wisdom had to go underground, which it did, you know, in the last 3,000-4,000 years, you know, when we've gone through this rise of patriarchy and the feminine had to go underground, there are cultures that took that knowledge, that feminine wisdom, and they embedded it into dance movements and had very elaborate dances that were actually, you know, there was the geometries that they worked into them, and they encoded wisdom, sacred wisdom, into dance. And so, you know, and so many ancient traditions have particular dances to evoke and to connect with different elemental energies and different, you know, aspects of the divine. So the elemental forces in nature, you know, our whole body, our whole self, as symbols and objects, you know, things, power objects, things that have meaning and significance and are imbued with power. Because remember, again, this shamanic path is about acknowledging the energy, the consciousness, and the power in everything, the intelligence in everything. And so, you know, particular symbols, even musical instruments like my rattle, you know, my feathers, my drum, the things that I use. And we all have things that have meaning to us. I have, like on my altar there right behind me, you know, a little china flower that belonged to my grandmother. I mean, and that's, you know, very sacred to me. It's a connection with her. And I often put that when I feel called to connect with and bring in her energy, I will put that on my altar to hold that, be a placeholder for my grandmother, who was is still very close to me in spirit. So, you know, rituals can bring, you know, all these different aspects in and serve those purposes of acknowledging all of the energies and the power and the wisdom of, you know, that's in everything, that's in all the creation, both man-made and ordinary or non-ordinary or natural. So the effects, and I like to spend more time talking about the effects. Why do we do ritual? Well, again, as you know, I love to bring in the science, you know, behind things to satisfy, because I have that, you know, mental, intellectual curiosity. And I love it when I can make those connections between what's been ancient indigenous wisdom and now that's now proven or shown, you know, explained by science and research. So whenever I can, I like to bridge those worlds as well. So so the effects of ritual are many, and I hope, if nothing else, that you'll just be inspired to bring more conscious ritual into your everyday life. So for one thing, it deepens and instills that connection to the sacred, to the great mystery, to the greater power, however you understand that. And there's no, you know, right way to do that. It's whatever that represents for you. That ritual reinforces that, and it will help you connect, you know, to that invisible realm. It also corrects. I mean, I've talked about, and we're all well aware of how disconnected us modern people are from sacred, from spirit, and from nature, and particularly the sacred and the spiritual in nature, in our natural world. Well, this ritual begins to correct that, and it corrects that by beginning to reweave helping reweave, where we are actually sending out luminous cords of connection and reweaving ourselves back into that greater circle of life, that, you know, the natural world, the supernatural world. And you know, we need a lot of healing and restoring of that connection. So ritual will do that for us. Ritual can, you know, harmonize energy, for example, help us process emotions. You know, you think about the rituals of, you know, the big step, like when you're binding or, you know, combining, connecting with another person and you want to spend your life together, you're committing to each other. And, you know, that's a big step, you know, for anyone at any time. And so, and then the same when we lose someone, when somebody dies, a beloved or someone we love dies, you know, the ritual can help you process those emotions. And begin to restore some harmony and right relationship again with, you know, whatever that transition has been, whatever that threshold is that you're stepping over. You know, whether it's somebody returning back to spirit, to the spirit realm, leaving the physical, or it's, you know, the act of a vow between you and a partner, or the naming, you know, of a child. All of these are, you know, there's a lot, it brings up a lot of deep and complex emotions. And so ritual helps us, does actually works with our brain. And we have 4 brains, 4 levels of our brain that have come about evolutionary terms. And those all parts of our brain have different functions. And in particular, the limbic brain is what responds to ritual. So ritual actually changes the neural pathways in our brain and starts to rewire our brain. Because our brains, you know, the limbic brain in particular, which is a lower brain, not, you know, not the lowest, which would be the reptilian, but the limbic brain in particular is the one that processes emotions. And the limbic brain knows how to do ritual. It remembers. Again, this is part of our ancestral, our physical ancestral memory. And so ritual helps us, you know, make sense in the bigger picture, helps us make sense of our lives and helps us make sense and make meaning of our lives. And those things that happen to all of us, you know, it's all part of the human journey in this physical realm. And ritual helps us remember, you know, and remember our place, and also make sense and meaning from the things that happen to us, both the things we choose and the things that we might not be consciously choosing and have, you know, very mixed and deep emotions about. So a lot of, you know, I hope you're getting a sense of the way that ritual can restore balance, can bring us back into right relationship with that which is greater than us, and invoke and call in also the support of those invisible realms that are just waiting for us to ask and waiting for us to remember and to make conscious again and real those relationships. So I'm moving right along here now. I'm just going to check my time and see how we're doing. We're doing good. Okay. So I like to just give some examples. I've been giving throughout some examples of rituals and things that, you know, are part of our modern lives that we do. And also so for example, just because it's so fresh and real right now, the ritual that we did this weekend. So we knew Lionsgate, and we were knew, you know, just from the research, and, you know, you can read up and find out about why those events or this particular event is so important. Of course, we have those seasonal events, you know, every year, like equinoxes, solstices, and some of these, you know, are things like our ancestors live their lives like the clock, right, around those both lunar and solar cycles. And so again, just in a way, those things help us reconnect with the natural world, with the natural movement of the heavenly bodies and our relationship, the Earth's relationship. We're part of the Earth, and the Earth is in relationship with the sun and the moon and the planets. And so we are, I hope you're getting a sense how when we take space from our ordinary day and lives to consciously make those connections and to honor them and honor the greater forces that brought us here and allow us to continue to live, on this planet, that, there's magic. Magic is all I can say. Magic starts to happen. You start to become aware of synchronicities. And so, this weekend, we, our small group who are here to anchor in and to do ceremony, we, went to special places here where I and many other people have come to do ceremony. In particular, I've been here doing for the last, 8 years that I've been living here, and before that, last 10 years maybe. And so those places, places have energy, right? They have their own natural energy. And then when you go to those places, suppose this could just be, your backyard. And you go to those places again and again to just do something as simple as say, thank you. Thank you, air. Thank you, sun. Thank you, tree. Thank you, grass. Thank you. Then you are bringing your energy and you are weaving your connection to those places. You're weaving your connection back to the earth and to the elements of earth and to the expressions of creation of the divine here on earth. And so we brought our offerings. We had roses because Lion's Gate, and the lion is all about the heart and opening of the heart and courage. So we brought roses and we made offerings of sweets, and we spoke to the mountains. We spoke to them and said thank you, and we're here. This is why we're here. We just like to thank you, for all that you are and all that you do. You don't have to even understand, but the gratitude and just the taking the time to acknowledge, how something affects you, the beauty, the majesty, the awesomeness, finding the simplest thing can be an act of, and when you take the time to do that, you are enacting ritual. And the offering of things, again, it's that right relationship. It's restoring the relationship. It's acknowledging how much we receive. Everything, we have. We're always receiving from the earth and from the creation and from the heavens. Light, inspiration. And so to acknowledge that you're receiving that with some offering, whether it's just your praise and your thanks and a song and a little dance, all of these are ways of creating ritual and using ritual to reconnect you with those invisible and powers and beings in the natural world. So I'm going to speak a little bit about how I see the key difference between our modern way of thinking and being and our indigenous ancestors. And to remember, when I say indigenous here, I'm referring to all of us. We are all indigenous to this earth. And there are some of us who have become disconnected because of ancestral losses and wounds and horrible things that happened, where our ancestors were uprooted or had to leave and their ancestral lands and their ancestral ways behind. And so some of us feel, that's how I came to this. It was through my own desire and feeling of being disconnected. and wanting to make a difference, wanting to do something. I needed to feel useful. I needed to feel like I was making a difference, that I was contributing. I didn't want to, and that's just, something I came into this earth and to this world with, that desire to, and I suspect many of you who are here listening today also have that feeling of wanting to be of service, of wanting your life to make a difference, of wanting to be able to give back something, to leave the world a better place than you found it. So ritual is like the most powerful thing that you can do to make a difference. And when we were here, our small group this weekend, and we were very aware that yes, we were all here for ourselves, but we were also here for our families, for our communities, and for the planet, right? Reweaving those connections again, that it wasn't just about us, that we were here anchoring those vibrations intentionally, showing up and doing those rituals so that we could bring that onto the earth, knowing that we're all going back to our families and our ordinary lives, but we would be carrying that energy, that vibration, and for everyone. And of course, we're always doing that. But like I said, when you take the time out and you do it consciously and with intention, then it's that much more powerful. So back to Indigenous versus modern. So, us modern people, and I speak for myself, having spent 12 years in university, learning the ways of modern, rational, intellectual thinking and ways, that we think our way through the world. We think, and I see this, many of the people that come to me to work with me, and even this weekend, noticing myself how easy it is to just start going into story. And to, and this happened, and this happened, this happened. And it's like, and my work has been, and I feel like that's part of what I offer other people, is how to come back into your body, into your instinctual knowing, back and connecting again with that felt sense of that deeper knowing that isn't just information. It just isn't, thought or story. It's actually a felt and sense, embodied way of being in the world. And I like to think and understand that as, that's part of our healing, right? We've been disconnected, just like our head is disconnected from our heart. We tend to, as modern people, we're socialized and trained how to think, right? Like that's the most important thing. And thinking is really important, but it's not the only way, and it's not, it doesn't call upon all of our inherent wisdom. And right now, the connecting with that deeper wisdom and those deeper wisdom ways of being in the world, of being fully in the body, is so necessary for our healing and coming back into right relationship again. So in that way of thinking, we're in linear time, right? We think about, yesterday, today, tomorrow, or at which, can kind of, we objectify, where we are in our relationship, and we see ourselves, as going somewhere, like we're always going somewhere. How much time do we spend thinking and planning about the future as opposed to being present right now? And we also have very rigid ways. And so many of our rituals become just, routine, where we think of a ritual as something like brushing your teeth. Well, that might be something we do every day, and it may be routine, but it's not a ritual, as, in that deeper sense that I've been describing here. And we also are preoccupied with the right way. So yeah, I want to do a ritual, but I want to do it the right way. Like, how do I do it? Like, give me the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I don't want to do it wrong. Recognizing that, again, that's an aspect of our mind which functions in duality consciousness, that there is possibly a right and a wrong way to do ritual. So there, there we are. And if you can relate to any of that, you're okay. It just means you've been really highly socialized, by our culture. But the indigenous way of approaching ritual is being, as I said, more embodied, more conscious, and of course, having, again, that really deeply known and felt sense that there's a greater spiritual world here, and I'm in relationship to it. And so this is the work that we have ahead of us, right? Of bringing that awareness deeply into our lives and into our ways of being throughout the day. That we are always connected to spirit, to the mythical realms, to the divine. No matter what, we cannot be disconnected. And trusting those more intuitive urges and impulses, our feeling, our instinct, knowing that, if we just follow our instincts, our bodies will remember and will follow along. And to follow that inner guidance, right? That prompting. So for our Indigenous ancestors, going through their daily lives, it was like a dance, you might say. And we can reconnect with that within ourselves, reconnect with that dance with the invisible realm, to just take a moment when you step outside, to look around at the sky and say, hello, sky, hello, tree, hi, hello, right? And so our Indigenous ancestors, knew there was no right way. They were much more present to, okay, right now I need to make, I want to make an offering. I just want to make a little offering here to thank, the sun, for shining, and or the rain for coming and watering my garden so that I could, my food would grow, my plants would grow. So this is our work today, I see, is finding our way into real living ritual and relationships with the invisible realms. That's more present and more embodied and more spontaneous and playful, right? As opposed to, rigid and finding the right way. So with that said, I'm now going to invite us to take a deep breath. I've been sharing lots of information there. Hopefully some of that's landing with you or starting to make you think and inspiring you to want to bring more ritual into your everyday life. And so take a breath. And so now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do next. One of the areas that's also very dear to my heart and very much a part of the shamanic work is the honoring of our ancestors and the reestablishing of relationships with our ancestors. And there are, many ways to do that, which I go into in more advanced, we'll be going into in the fall, and also, in more advanced work. But I'd like to give you a taste of that today, of connection with your ancestors. And, this is a big cultural issue particularly for us Westerners, who treat our ancestors and our elders, our living ancestors, as well as those ancestors that have died, who are still with us, even though they've died. We treat them very badly. We, and I don't need to go into detail about that. I'm sure you can relate. But also, we don't remember our ancestors for the most part, and we don't know how to honor them, let alone to, work with them, because many of them need healing. As I said earlier, our ancestors back perhaps many generations, particularly for us European descent, there's been so much destruction of indigenous ways and connections, and this, what we're going to do today is one step towards healing some of that disconnect and some of that harm that's been caused to entire cultures of people who've been disconnected and dispossessed of their indigenous lands and places, but also their wisdom. So what I'm going to invite you to do is go on an upper world journey with me. And so I'm going to give you the map, a map. Again, there's always more than one map. There are many maps, but I'm going to share one of my favorite maps for going into the upper world. And if you will remember from previous, last week, actually it was number 3, where I talked about the 3 worlds of the shaman, you know, the lower world, the middle world here where we walk, and the upper world. And so in my teachings, those who have passed, our ancestors who have passed, and those who are healthy and well, are in a particular realm of the upper world, and one of the lower realms of the upper world. And as I said, there are worlds within worlds, and there's levels always, right? Remember that spectrum I gave you of the visible and the invisible light spectrum, and the whole electromagnetic spectrum, which has, you know, all kinds of frequencies and levels. So we're going to go to a particular level of the upper world where those ancestors who have passed and are healthy and well, this is where they go. And so, and that we're going to go with the intention of you connecting with a particular ancestor, or with a ancestor who is healthy and well. And because not all our ancestors are healthy and well. And to do healing work with those who are not is a completely different topic, and would require a little more foundation before you started to do that kind of work. Though it's so important and so sacred, that work. But what you're going to ask is how you want to know how you can honor and remember them. So you're going to go and ask them to let you know what you can be doing, or what, you know, kind of ritual you might do to honor and remember them and reconnect with them. So the map. So I'm going to give you the map. So the map is, we're going to use the map of, I'm going to invite you to come to a place in nature that you love and that feels sacred and beautiful to you. And in that place, I'm going to invite you to find a tree. And this is going to be a huge tree. It's going to be the world tree that connects heaven and earth. And you're going to merge with the tree energetically, and your luminous body, you're going to allow it to go and follow that tree and go to the top branches of that tree. And then from there, we're going to call on, because remember we need guides. We're going to call on your luminous parents, your celestial parents. So these are not your biological physical parents. These will be your spiritual parents. Those who have been with you since you emerged as an individuated spirit, and, you know, began your journey, you know, coming into the earth plane, and probably in other realms of existence too. But so your celestial parents is who we're going to call on, and we're going to ask them to take you to the land of your ancestors. And these will be your biological ancestors that you will be connecting with. But it will be a healthy and healed one. So you just be prepared. You don't know how long. And you can ask, once you get there, right, you can ask all those questions. Ask, you know, how long ago, like, and which side of, you know, is this on your maternal line, your paternal line, right? You can ask all those questions. But what you want to ultimately know once you've made the connection with an ancestor is, how can I honor you? How can I, you know, remember you back in my everyday world, in the middle world? What can I do to make that connection? Yeah, so there's our map, and then you come back the same way. Always come back the same way. That's one of the rules of shamanic journey. Really important that you come back the same way that you went. So yeah, so I invite you to get ready for this. Now, I've already opened the sacred space here. I always do that before the call. But for now, I'm going to invite you to just breathe. Now I just have to switch my my mic here and turn on original sound so that you can hear my mic. This is a little adjustment here. Yeah, so you can hear my rattle as well as my voice. So I invite you, if you have a candle lit, then that's lovely, but I have one here, so holding the space. And I'm going to call in for now, invite you to feel and allow your body to open and to feel the connection in each direction of a luminous being, of a powerful master of light who can hold the space for you, create a safe and a sacred space for you to make this journey. So, from the north, there's a luminous being of heart and light. It will hold you in its heart space. And from the east, another great master of light, holding you in the heart space. In the south, another ascended master of light, holding you in safe, sacred space and connection with the earth. And to the west, another protective being of light, holding you. The earth supporting and holding you. And the heavens, being held by the heavens, and another great archangel of light, holding that upper world, upper space of the heavens for you. And just focusing on your breath, bringing your attention inward to prepare to make this journey, this inner journey in the spirit realms. And so find yourself, bring yourself to that beautiful place in nature, and where you can see in the distance a great tree. This is a tree that connects the heavens to the earth, and it has a great trunk, and so you make your way to that tree. And when you find yourself at this tree, you look at the bark of the tree, you can smell it. Use all your senses. Look down at your feet. Notice your feet. You're on this middle world. You're here in physical form. And you ask if it's okay. Ask the tree if you can merge with it. Get permission from the tree. And when you're ready, you just step into, let your luminous field separate and move into the tree. And so as you move into this tree, let your imaginal mind feel the essence of this tree, this great trunk, and feel all the liquids that are moving, coming up from the roots in the deep earth, bringing all the nutrition that the tree needs to sustain its life, and allow those liquids, that water, to flow through you. Allow it to cleanse you of what may not accompany you to the upper world. So feeling all that sap, feel it moving through your luminous field. And just connecting, staying connected with your breath into that inner space. And then directing your luminous field, just intending to move up the trunk of that great tree, and to move into the branches, to go out into the branches. Feel yourself moving through those uppermost branches until you come to the end of the branches of this great tree. And you look and see coming towards you two lights, brilliant, bright lights. And as they get closer and closer, you see the forms, see that they're actually human forms, light beings. And you can feel, most of all, the love that emanates from these beings. And you see here, maybe for the first time, your celestial parents. And you allow yourself to be greeted, to feel the love and the welcome, the acknowledgement of those celestial parents who have loved you and brought you into this life and into every life. They've always been there for you, always. So allow yourself to be embraced and enveloped in their love. Sensing just this unconditional regard, how proud they are of you. Allow yourself to be and feel love like perhaps you have never felt in physical form. And allow yourself and your parents to catch up. And you can do this very quickly because you can just telepathically let them know. They want to know how your journey is going, how you are. You can just share that information. You can just download it. This is my life so far. And feel their awesome pride in you. And that love that just seems boundless and endless. And then let them know that you're on your way to the ancestor realm. You are going to meet, you want and desire to meet a healed and healthy ancestor, that you want to connect with them, that you desire a relationship with them, and ask if they will take you there. And of course they say yes. They thought you'd never ask. And so allow yourself to rise with them, up, up, up through the sky, out through the atmosphere of the earth, and to keep going until you come to this upper world, this ancestor world. And this is the world where the whales and the dolphins live as well. But you're on a mission. You're here with your celestial parents. And so when you arrive, you see people coming towards you. And there's one in particular who's at the front. And you know, because you can feel it and sense it, that they've just been waiting for you to show up. So just notice them as they get closer. You know, is it male? Is it a man or a woman? Grandmother, grandfather? And see and feel their embrace, their welcome, how glad they are to see you. Allow yourself to be held and welcomed and loved and seen in a way you have never been seen before. They have some messages for you. So have a conversation. Let them ask whatever you need to know, whatever you're curious about, who they are, where they lived, what their life was like, what's their relationship to you, how are they related to you, how long has it been since they lived on Earth. Allow the information to come into you intuitively, into your body, into your knowing. And tell them why you've come, why you're here, what you want to know, how you can honor them, and how you can have a relationship with them. What it is you can do in the middle world, in your everyday, ordinary life, to keep this connection with them, to feel their presence, to have a relationship, to talk to them, to ask for their guidance and their support when you need it. How can you have a real living relationship with this ancestor, this grandmother, or this grandfather? And now get ready to take your leave, knowing that you can return. You can do this journey again. You can connect anytime. Make your preparations to leave. Say your goodbyes. One last hug. And then turn and see your celestial parents that are waiting here for you, who've been enjoying this reunion that you've had with this ancestor. And so ask them to take you back to that tree, that great tree of life. You can feel yourself again, moving through space and time, coming down, 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 down. Feeling the energy shift and get heavier and denser as you come down to the top of the tree, where you make your leave, take your leave of your ancestral parents, of your celestial parents. One last hug, knowing you can connect with them again at any time. They're always there for you. And then moving back into the top, those uppermost branches of the tree. And moving down, feeling your luminous body, move down through the branches, down to the trunk of the tree. Coming back, letting the fluids and the liquids of the tree, the sap, flow through your luminous field, clearing out anything that may not accompany you back into the middle world. And then stepping back from the tree, thanking the tree, and then looking down at your feet again, and feeling your feet, moving your fingers, feeling your body, coming right back into ordinary space and time. Nice big deep breath in and out, feeling your body. And you might want to take some notes in your course guide. And after this, and I just quickly want to remind you that in your course guide there will be places and some questions there for you to do some deepening into this work. One of the deepening things you might consider doing is some research on this ancestor that you've connected with. Finding out more, and maybe doing some literal research, talking to family members or online ancestry work. And also to make sure that you follow up, that you, whatever this ancestor asked you to do or invited you to do as a ritual or connecting, that you do that, and do that sooner as opposed to later, because this work is so rich and so powerful and important, and will help bridge and reweave your connection with that spiritual, and particularly with your ancestors. So have some time here now before, not a whole lot of time, but hopefully if there's any questions, then I'm just going to invite you to put them in the chat there. And I know we are now at 3:30, so, but I'm gonna go a little extra. Hopefully you can stay on, those of you who can stay on, will. And and if you don't get your questions answered here, remember, put them in the Facebook page, and I answer every question and I respond to everything that people post in there. And there's some really rich, beautiful content being generated there, sharing, some beautiful sharing in there as well. So if you're not on the Facebook group yet, still time to join. And Catherine's going to put the link in the chat there as well, so you can click on. Catherine, do we have any questions coming up?
I don't see any questions. That was a rich, wow, that was just a really rich class, content-wise and experience. So I don't know if anyone's feeling like me, but full. So I don't see any. If I can just read a few comments. There's, wow, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing this amazing wisdom. Lots of gratitude.
Yes.
And that question, if we want to go back ourselves without the recording, should we rattle or drum while we travel?
I would suggest that you do. For me, what rattling or drumming does, remember again, shifting brainwave states, right, is the purpose that we do the drumming or the rattling, is to put us into, and there is a rhythm, right? There is a rhythm, and so you know, if you listen, it's, you know, you will find, because remember, this is in your body. Your cells will remember. It's a faster rhythm. Um, so, you know, rattle fast, or, you know, so find your rhythm that shifts you into that inner place where you feel, you know, it takes you out of ordinary space and time. And with practice, you will get to honor that and get to recognize that. So when you're learning, I really recommend you do use a drum or rattle, just so that, because otherwise you're kind of not sure if you're there or if you're not there. And if you're thinking that, you know, am I there or not there? You're probably, you know, not quite there yet. So that's where the rattle can help. It's a distraction, and it also shifts your brainwave state.
Excellent. Thank you. There's another one here. I'm not sure if I understand it, so hopefully you do, Allison. Prior to journeying, is it necessary for me to feel safe? I'm connecting, or maybe in connecting with a well ancestor. That's a question about safety.
Yeah. Well, you know, safety is so important. And so this is where an invocation, and again, calling on, you know, angels, ascended masters, you know, whoever you're safe, whoever would be safe for you. Um, and I have posted on the Facebook page several, or at least two different invocations that are, you know, from my lineage. But it doesn't have to be a specific one. Safety is really important, though. So that's why I would invite you to find what makes you feel safe, um, and do that, until, you know, um, until you know, it becomes. I do it every time. I mean, every time I'm doing sacred work, and not even just for sacred work, but anything that I feel like I need support, I call in, you know, I call in those who I've come to trust and depend on, and that help me feel safe. So yes, I think safety is really important. Yeah.
Thank you. I see another one in here. Do you want to take another one, Allison?
One more, yes.
Okay. I met an ancestor from 40,000 years ago in France. In that time, the connection with other realms was rigid and real. Any hints on how to learn more about Gunnick or Gunic? I'm not sure how you pronounce that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that word is either. But 40,000 years ago, that's awesome. Wow, like how cool is that? And to acknowledge that, yes, in every, we can't glorify the past, right? Because it's not like, there was some time when we lived in Eden and, and now all of a sudden, we're not. Um, there were always issues, and we've been learning, and learning. So, if things were a certain way then that wasn't, like optimal, then remember we're creating it now, right? We're doing the work now in this. And the thing to remember about ritual, and I don't know if I've made this point, but it's a very important point, and it feels like this is where I need to share it now. So thank you for that question, is that we are, when we do the work here and now, it actually ripples backward to all our ancestors. So all the healing work we do, and this applies to our personal healing work as well as our ancestral healing work, it ripples back in time and forward to the future. So this work gets to benefit, not just us now and our culture and our earth now, but changes literally the fabric of time and space. It's unbelievable how much power we have to change everything for all those who came before us and all those who will come after us. It is, I cannot stress that enough. And this is the power of ritual. We have the power to change the world. So maybe that's a good place to end for today, to tell you how powerful you are. And whew, yeah, that's it for today. Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for all for being ready and showing up to hear this message today that I feel so blessed and honored to get to share with you. Um, And if there's seeds, my greatest hope is that I've planted some seeds, and that those seeds, if you will water them, give them a little water, that they will grow and blossom in your life, and create, beauty, create more beauty and healing for all of us, for everyone. So thank you. I do one more thing. A new moon circle next Monday night, which is the 17th. And so an invitation to join me, because on new moons we dream, right? We go into the dark, and we bring our dreams into the dark, and the moon and all the forces of creation receive those dreams, and it just radiates out. It goes out, into the cosmos. So I invite you to come dream with me next Tuesday night. And the link to register, you do have to register, and advanced registration is required. But there's, it's free by donation. If you feel called to make a donation, that's honored and accepted. But the link is in the chat, right, Catherine? Yeah, so you just have to click on that link and register, and you'll get an email with details to log in that on next Monday night. And other than that, next week is the last. I can't believe how fast this has gone. I mean, at the beginning I was thinking, oh my, all those classes, and Catherine knows, but it's like gone so fast, and I feel like I've only just scratched the surface of what I would love to share with you and take you deeper into this work. But next week, I will share more about the course, the longer course coming up in September, and also we'll be gifting you the Healer's Rite, which is one of the rites of initiation on the shamanic path. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you. Have a beautiful week. Bye, everyone. Bye. See ya.